I'm Seth. I'm in my final year of Imperial, studying computer science. Um,
I'm Anish. I'm also in my final year studying biomedical engineering.
Yeah, and I'm James, also studying in my final year for a computer science degree.
um, yeah, and I guess we've been friends since first year. We've all kind of been interested in like starting a company together. So kind of back in November time, we kind of all got together and we're like, it's final year, but ultimately we don't think we want to go into this kind of graduate market post-university. So we're like, okay, let's like build a company together. And yeah, I guess on the medtech front.
Yeah, so something which I'd seen working at this biotech firm called Oxford Nanopore and other medtech startups was that when we were submitting to the regulatory bodies, both in the EU and in the US, it could be quite a lengthy process where regulatory hurdles were kind of overlooked in both development and when it came to submission, which kind of added a lot of R&D cost and a lot of pain for both the submitters and the medtech company themselves. So when we kind of explored this problem space a little bit further, we then realized that it seemed to be kind of quite a larger problem than we initially thought. So then we wanted to try and build something to kind of help this problem.
Yeah, and then so basically we just kind of did loads of outreach and started speaking to loads of different people. I mean, Martin King was someone that we first spoke to, and we got like a lot of good information about that. Particularly, one of the things that we kind of came across was this eSTAR document. We all kind of had a play around with it, and it was kind of, I mean, it like does the job, but it's kind of pretty rudimentary and it's built on kind of technology from like, 25 years ago. So it can be a bit kind of buggy and, there are a few different problems with it. So we just felt that we could kind of streamline a lot of this kind of application pathway. And so we kind of decided to build a tool which we called Regulos, which basically helps, it applies AI to help kind of, first of all, do almost like a gap analysis of the kind of, let's say you've got to the point where you're actually creating a 510(k) submission, and it basically does a bit of a gap analysis to check the areas where you need to kind of either go back to your company and produce some intermediate documents, and then finally actually like create this kind of lengthy document itself. Um, and so, yeah, I guess that's a bit of a kind of run through. And yeah, it'd be good to show you the products as well.
So what is the website? It's Regulos dot.
Yeah, so our landing page is regulos.me.
Uh-huh.
Um, put it in the chat so people can kind of check it out. Host and panelists, regulos.me. Oh, yeah, nice. And then the actual app itself is requires kind of login details and stuff. So I guess if anyone's kind of interested, we can then send over some login details and they can play around with the app itself. Yeah.
Yeah, just have them write interested in the chat and they'll, well, at some point during the call, we'll ask them that. Um,
Um,
so backing up a little bit, um, how did how did you guys end up in biomedical engineering? Like I mean, it's like I mean every child's dream really is to be a biomedical engineer. So why don't we start on the right with Anish?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was always quite interested in actually computer science growing up, but I became very keen on the Da Vinci systems that Intuitive made for surgical robotics. And then I thought that in terms of like what I wanted to do, which is kind of combine my like computational skills along with kind of health impact socially, I thought biomedical engineering seemed like a cool space to be in and a potentially degree to study as well.
Hmm, that's interesting. Seth?
I guess from my side, I've always been kind of techie, playing around with computers. And then when I was 16, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which I had no like idea about beforehand and kind of how that worked. And so that was a big kind of learning curve, a lot of exposure to the kind of medical system. And so I think since then, I've been like I've wanted to kind of build something within that space. So I guess when it came to like discussions with these guys at like made, it was a good kind of intersection for us to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, there's a couple of things going back. I mean, I'm originally from South Africa, which is a bit of a different like space technically speaking, but there's a lot of like, interesting kind of medical device applications there that I was learning from in terms of like more specialized things in like trauma medicine. I just thought were cool, but that was like as a child in the background. But then basically I came to Imperial and I met Seth and Anish, and I lived with Anish for a long time. We'd always talk about kind of cool things we were seeing. But then particularly I actually lost hearing in one ear and I had to gain a hearing aid. And I started messing around with that because it's a piece of tech that like I'm wearing with me 24/7. Like it's really cool to play around with. So I was playing around and making software for that and just kind of seeing what could be done. And I just got really, really into it. And then it just kind of like felt like a very natural thing. It was like we're all really great friends. I literally lived with Anish for like 2 years. And it just felt like a really natural place for us all to like convene on to work in biomedical space.
Yeah.
Um,
That's great. So I mean, yeah, the way that we come to this is very few people on this call came to it through a straightforward path, but you guys are coming to it right out of college, and so that's awesome. Does anybody in the audience have any questions for them, or should we just get straight into looking at the product?
So you guys are the ones that spoke a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So that wasn't us.
No?
Yeah, this is a brand new crowd. That was okay, I'm blocking.
Uh, it was another AI tool that did something with, and there were young people that had invented it.
Right. Yeah, they were young, but they weren't
Yeah.
quite as
Okay,
young.
well, I'm going to ask them the same question. What do you understand about your competitive landscape? Like, are you familiar with SMVia? Because they have the exact same startup story as you do.
So the name rings a bell. I'm not sure about that particular kind of company. I mean, I think from our point of view, like there's obviously the kind of historic landscape of you'll have kind of a lot of kind of larger consultancies doing this. I mean, in terms of the like startup space, I think it is everything is so new at the moment that we don't feel particularly put off by other companies trying to do the same thing. I think it's like going to all be about execution and who makes the best tool, and then actually kind of markets it well. So, like we have come across a few different companies, like the one you just mentioned, sure. But I think on the whole, we're kind of just going, let's just make the best tool we possibly can.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just to add upon
Right.
that, I
If
mean,
if we were coaching a startup right now, like a real medtech startup, like you're already hitting some big walls of somebody that's going to be trying to mentor you or invest in you
Mhm.
by not understanding, having a depth of that level of understanding. So
Mhm.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to like coach you guys through like, you have to also pretend you're on the other side because you're going to be asking for investment soon, I would assume. And so like you've got to treat it like a business, and because nobody's going to give you money if you don't understand these things about the market.
Mhm.
yeah, I think just to add on to what Seth was saying earlier, the competitors, a lot of them are focused on some of the other parts of the process, not necessarily the final submission and the document generation around that. And also, I think a key bit
Well,
of our
see,
product is that we
I don't
actually,
see that's where I think you don't understand the landscape because I know of several companies that do that. And it's like I say, SMVia even specifically says that they build your eSTAR for you.
Mhm.
So we don't, I'm not trying to like,
Welcome to Shark Tank.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I'll stop, but just, bookmark those things and take them as somebody that wants you to be successful. And,
Yeah.
and knowing those things are important to being successful in this space.
I think what Michelle's trying to say in a delicate way is like Michelle and I have very much overlapping specialties, but because we know each other, we know the business and we talk to each other, instead of competing, we refer competitors to each other. So by not understanding the landscape and your competition, you're kind of amputating opportunities that you can improve or be better than your competitors. I think
Or
that's
be
what you're trying to say,
different.
Michelle.
It's to a point.
To a point,
Mhm.
yeah. But I'm
Good
just
point.
like, you're one of the things is I'm in my 50s, and there's other people on here. We're seasoned. We've been doing this a long time. My suggestion is if you want to be successful, understand how you are going to be unique and how you compare to other people. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Okay,
How are you
let's
going
look
to
at the
be
tool.
unique?
Let's look at the tool, please.
Okay.
Look, I think maybe some to step back and recontextualize is probably going to be useful here. So what we're going to show you the tool, but I think the main thing that we want to get out of this experience and what we want to show to you and get from you is we're trying to get interest in people that want to partner with us and help us build like the correct tool for this problem. We know that there's a lot of problems in this space, and we put in the legwork to, make an app live, and we want to work with people in order to make something that's specific to that problem. Again, we're entering the space and we need a little bit of that expertise. So what we're looking for now is like the current tool, what it can already help you with is if you're working on an eSTAR and you need to like collaborate with other people and you need to generate a document and you need to kind of take a lot of the manual work out, we've already got something that can help you there. But we do want to build the project and push it out. Like we're still early stages. But the main thing we want to show you here is that, we've got something that we can work with you and kind of uh, and get us to that next level.
I can't wait to see it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, I'll share my screen and show you what we have so far. Okay. Where is it? Any idea?
No, to open up a new tab.
Huh? Yeah.
It should
Okay.
be at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, I was just making sure. Can you guys see that okay? Oh my God. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say you're kind of getting towards the point where you're ready to actually create this submission. So let's say for the sake of argument, you're creating a cardiac sensor. And at this point, we're now being asked to upload our technical documents. So that's going to be basically all of the documents that are related to this medical device. So, like risk assessments, clinical results, manufacturing documents, anything and everything in kind of all of the different formats. And you can just upload that as the kind of context for this project. So you've now created a project and we're in this kind of our eSTAR, let's call it. And so you'll probably recognize this structure. It's just kind of in a kind of slightly different interface. So if we click into one of these categories and click generate category, what this is doing is now using all of those documents that you've uploaded and it's beginning to automatically fill in this whole document. So as you can see, it's kind of some of these have gone green. It's kind of filled in the basic information. If we go to, let's say, device description and click generate category again, it's going to begin to generate these things. The key thing to note here is that we're only going to generate an answer if there is sufficient context. So what we mean by that is we feel confident in that answer that we're generating. And every single sentence that we do generate is cited back to the source document. So there's very limited like AI hallucinations. It's very much a kind of you will only get something if you've already kind of produce something intermediate. So as you can see here, we've kind of begun to, you can see some of them are green, some of them are red, and we've like generated something for each of these answers. If we go to, let's say, device description summary, we've generated an initial kind of summary for this document. A key thing to note is we've got these validation checks. And what these validation checks do is we've taken information online about the kind of FDA guidance, and for each of these sections trying to embed it. So this one is passing. It says the text provided a device description summary. But this one, for example, comprehensive device description, it says provided text fails to fully satisfy the requirements, elects specific details such as labeled pictorial representations. So what we could then do is go into our AI assistant, which then has access to all of your documents, this initial answer, and say kind of, I don't know, what kind of pictures I'm missing. And so you can then see how this kind of becomes of the device. So you'd have to then upload those pictures. But you can see how this kind of becomes a review type process. So we will try and do some of the initial work for you, but obviously the domain knowledge and like the kind of I guess the like context that you have as either a consultant or as the like medical device producer is like key here. And so you can then make these manual edits and get it to a point where you feel comfortable making edits within this actual editor. As I mentioned before, every single sentence is linked back to the source document, so you can check to ensure that actually this makes sense. And so it really just becomes a kind of review process. You kind of fill everything out so you kind of get green, get to 100%, and then finally click export, and it will export it to the eSTAR format, which you can then kind of review and ready to submit. Equally, I missed a point. You can import, let's say you're working on an application or you need to make an amendment to an application. You can import that current eSTAR, make edits in our application, and then send it off. So that's a bit of a whistle stop. But yeah, any questions?
Jose, I
I have a
know you.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Are you guys selling this right now, or is this pre?
Yeah, so we're in a kind of pilot program. We're working with a number of regulatory consultants and some larger medtech companies. And basically we're doing super low prices at the moment. And we're just trying to kind of get users on board, get as much feedback, like real feedback as we possibly can. So yeah, this app is live and we can send kind of login details immediately. And just yeah, get people on board. Because like we completely take on the point of obviously we're not from a regulatory background, so we're very much in a kind of I guess like understanding all the context in a kind of development phase. So we're very much just trying to get it like throw the net out as far as we can. So yeah, as Sean said, I think if you want to kind of chat, put interested in the chat with your email, and we can get in touch immediately after the call.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
this is Dan Barreto. What do you guys do in terms of preserving privacy and proprietary information? Because there's going to be input into this application, and obviously your clients will be interested in making sure that their proprietary information is not revealed to others. What are your uh, processes to ensure that this data protection is achieved?
Yeah, so our main like data storage is in S3, which is SOC 2 compliant.
It's also HIPAA compliant as well.
Yeah. So kind of the actual data storage is in there, and then we're using all of the best practices in terms of encryption and data transfer and stuff. So the application is completely secure. We don't have access to the documents either. So if you're using it as a user, we can't go and view those documents.
And we don't train on any of the data you use, for example.
Yeah. So it's kind of completely secure in terms of the storage, and from our side, we don't have access to it either. Yeah.
But obviously you will be asked a very important question by a potential client. What
Mhm.
you just said, they are going to say, prove it to me. Where is your validation
Mhm.
of those processes? So have you done this?
Yeah, I mean, so the kind of I guess the storage that we're using is from AWS, and I guess the risk in a way is on Amazon. Like if there was to be a kind of data leak, that's them, and it is like a kind of negligible chance of that happening. So we have kind of pushed off the like security risk in that sense. I mean, James, you can.
Yeah, I think I would say like the risk is obviously like we've done all the security best practices. We haven't had, if you're asking if we've had like an external auditor in, like we haven't, we're still piloting this project. I think we're at the point of the project, we realized that this is something that will probably be valuable and it's something we'll try and do if people need that to happen or if they need extra reassurances. But I think this is really on a case-to-case basis at this point in time. I think maybe it's just worth saying like we have no interest in trying to steal people's information or train on them and stuff. we want to make a product that's genuinely useful and helps the industry. We want to see good products come out faster. So yeah, we're doing all the best things we can there. We don't have any external influences or like that kind of thing. But on a case-to-case basis, if you have more concerns about that, we can
And
talk
I, and
further.
I'll finish by saying if it's not documented, it's a rumor. It's a phrase that you guys want to become fully aware of because that's what they're gonna say. Show me the documentation. So I hear what you say, but what you say it's more hearsay, it's a rumor until it's really documented and proven. So just for you to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'd like to double down on what Dan is saying and Daniel is saying, and just plan for the audits. There is no way in hell you're going to sell something like this into a company without legal looking at your data models. I mean your paperwork and IT looking at your data models to make sure the data is secure. So just expect it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
no, that
I have
makes
another
sense.
question here. Sorry, guys. Are you having dedicated instances of your AI models here, or you are using just let's say um, public API? I mean, ChatGPT, Claude, um, without breaching any NDA, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that it depends on the requirements of the user. Like we're kind of using a bit of like on the architecture side, we can suit that to what the user needs. We can use either public API and then also public API with guarantee of no retraining and like other sort of like different enterprise guarantees that we can get. But all of those are, would, I guess, we could also self-host models. It depends on I guess, the level of confidentiality um, that the client would require.
Yeah,
The
we're
plat
currently, sorry.
platform itself is checking only documentation and generate them, or do you have kind of verifying process of the company or verifying the process of, kind of a monitoring control on the uh, document that you're actually generate? I mean, can you demonstrate something like this? I mean, let's go to cybersecurity, for example. I mean, what kind of
Yeah, if we generate. So sorry, to clarify your question, are you saying kind of, is it a generalized framework or are we
no, the
using,
question is it focusing only on the documentation, or you're doing some verification with your target customers, also with the process itself, the real world process of how they aligned with, with this documentation, what they're doing with this documentation after they are. My question, if I will formalize it and simplify it, is it just a document generator tool or much more than this?
so I mean, we have this kind of, I guess, like AI validator,
Yeah.
which tries to kind of, as you said, like use the FDA context. I think
Mhm.
the few that we got early on was trying to produce this whole document all in one and then be like, this is perfect is not the way to go about things. So we're very much like it's a kind of human is at the forefront of this process. So I guess to answer your question, it's a document generator, and then the human is that kind of final port of call of, does this make sense? I need to make these
Mhm.
mannerisms here and there.
But we have embedded like structural constraints and like FDA checks that we've tried to implement so that the content and the validation is something which is hopefully means that the user can have as little rewriting needed as possible.
Hi, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
You're I mean, like, it's brilliant what you're putting together, but for a medical device company,
Mhm.
okay, so you've created this and then you submit, and then the FDA makes a remark, and then you've got to make those changes. For a
Mhm.
medical device company, the putting together this package, yeah, you've saved a little bit of time, but you've got to have traceability of your source documents, and that is where the a lot of compliance issues occur. So there's that problem. Rather than putting in compiled documents, a PDF is a compiled document, it's a printed document. You then have to be able to trace what happened between the first version you submitted and the second version you submitted. And that is where your content management system comes into place. And so, what you should be looking at really is connecting to those systems. And then this is compiling from source rather than compiling a generated document. Because in between the time that somebody sent me the PDF to put into this, the compliance person puts, all of this inside. Somebody's generated a new PDF. How do I know I've put the latest version in here? So you're working from an output as opposed to working from source. Another question I've got from you, for you is what LLM are you using? And then when you start thinking about like, okay, well, what LLM am I using? How have you audited that LLM? How are you sure that in if I click that generate button 100 times, I am going to get the exact same reply 100 times? I've built something similar to this, and you generate 3 times, and it changes slightly. One single comma change is a non-compliance, you're gonna get yourself into trouble with submissions. So that's like, I think some of the questions that have come out, like that you've already been asked about privacy. You've got to be able to prove your LLM audit. There's a whole load of things, especially you guys are in the UK, right? So there's we've stepped out of the EU, but the EU AI Act, like, brings in a whole load of things that you guys are going to have to consider, because you are acting on information from a medical device. Where do you sit on those risk levels? How have you audited, and how can you prove um, everything to do with the LLM and the generation and the AI part of it in with regard to the EU AI Act and any other regulations that are going to start coming up. And I mean, like, that's the first published one, but different regions are going to start coming out with their different, regulations. You're going to have to be reactive to that. You're not only going to be submitting to one, okay, this is eSTAR, so you're submitting to, like, the US.
Yeah,
Companies, medical device companies are selling worldwide and not just submitting to the FDA.
yeah. So I guess to answer your first two parts, the first question to do with, I guess like going back to the source documents and kind of how we ordered that. I mean, I think currently our like context management system is relatively simple. I think like longer term, we want to be looking at kind of probably like working with a kind of these QMS systems, as you said, to kind of plug into them. So it becomes a case of almost like you have your QMS system, you have all of the documents managed, and then it is just a case of you click generate and you get 95% and you can read over the whole thing. We thought in order to get a product straight to market, we were like, we'll go with this approach of kind of you're assuming a level of you have some of these documents kind of ready to go. In terms of your second question on what model, this exact version is using Gemini. As James
Yeah,
was saying,
recognize
it's
the UI.
pardon.
I recognize the UI.
Yeah, yeah. So and like it's I think in terms of it can be a case-to-case basis if we can kind of use any model we want. So if a user has a preference, that's not a big problem. Um, in terms of the kind of validating, getting the same response 100 times over, I mean, James, you might.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is something we're working on, right? So in the current pilot, the current controls for that are like essentially a bunch of rails that the AI must stay on, and also there's a notion of like in terms of change management, we do have like we didn't really show it, but there is like a change management system across like all of the versions of the document. But also when you generate something new with the AI, like let's say you added another source document and then you asked it to regenerate, like the new thing that gets changed would be shown side by side. So it's more like we understand that every kind of solution to this would have to be like a solution in depth. Like there are some rails happening, but also we want to make it as easy as possible for someone reviewing to then, be confident in everything that's being generated.
Yeah, so, sorry, just on that point, that's the wrong. I'm saying with the exact same documents, if you click generate 100 times, will you get the same answer 100 times? You're gonna have to prove that. You're gonna have that. You're gonna, have to get that audited. And with the exact same documents, I can bet you that if you click generate again 5 times, Gemini is going to at some point change for the same set of documents with the same guardrails. It's going to change something somewhere. And give it a go. And also like, it's quite easy. Add like, a couple of other models in there as well so that you can start,
But
testing that different models, because once you've built this out and you focused on Gemini, as soon as you plug OpenAI into it, the answers are going to be different. That those percentages calculated are going to come out different.
But let's say,
Well,
sorry for the question, but let's say they are solving this, okay? They are going to run their own even small models, okay? And based on my experience, once you are running a dedicated small model, not a huge general purpose LLM, you can achieve this kind of requests and answers. Should not be a problem. So technically, I think all can be solved. I mean, I don't know you guys, but
Mm.
my experience. So the question that at the end of the day, who is your audience here? I mean, have you done some, product market fit?
Well, that's
You
why
know,
they're here. They're really here to, sort of debut the product to get feedback. I would encourage you guys to keep the feedback a little bit more positive. The um, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask questions. However, I think that what we have the opportunity to see here is, you know, um, some guys that are, straight out of university who are building a first-time product, and I think that we want to encourage them to move forward rather than throw up every obstacle. The
I think, Sean,
They've
though,
got to see every obstacle
yeah,
before
the
before they get set on like,
the
one
people you
particular thing,
yeah, and the
guys,
I'm
but
people you
giving my feedback is for things that you should go back and look at,
because the
and
people you have on the call are pretty seasoned people, honestly, and we've seen all of these problems happening, and we're just, I think, simply trying to make sure you don't stumble on the same things as other people have
yeah.
stumbled, and we've all had problems with. I mean, and again, I'm more positive about stepping forward and making sure that you don't have those same problems is really what we're trying to do, Sean. I don't think we're trying to be negative about it. I
Yeah.
think we're just trying to make sure you don't have those same issues.
I
Anish?
think, yeah, and I think from our side, like we're very open about the fact that like we don't have all of the kind of like regulatory understanding and knowledge. So I think from our side, we were like, okay, let's get a product out. We know there are some holes in it and there are things that we're going to need to focus on. And so like this is like really helpful because we kind of have this like more of this information now. We can then go and make the relevant changes and come back to you with those answers. And I think also kind of for anyone who is interested in kind of working with us, like we will give you all of our private emails and we'll be able to respond to you immediately. And if you have a specific kind of request, we'll implement that as quickly as we can and kind of like we work on a very quick basis. So I think to be honest, like the constructive feedback is like really helpful. And we want to be practical of this. We're not just gonna put our heads down and work under incorrect assumptions. I feel like that's
The
the
rest of us, loud most, have talked. Maybe Maria has something to say.
Okay, thank you. You can hear me?
yes.
Good. My question is, your target purchaser or the companies that would be interested in this may not be very sophisticated software people that are making comments on this. So my question is, um, are you comfortable with describing to a user that doesn't have a lot of sophisticated AI background the advantage of this, of using this versus just sitting down with the ER system and struggling or working or maybe even doing okay with the with these eSTAR system? So I didn't hear at the beginning, maybe I missed it, the advantage of using this tool uh,
Mhm.
versus just not using the tool because you may be, I think you're going to be talking to clients that don't have any experience, maybe even with another one. Maybe they haven't shopped around yet, and eventually they will. But they need to understand the difference between working without this and working with this. And then after you make a comment, I have a comment after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like yeah, if you were to use the eStar and there's the workflow of kind of going through each of these questions, going to the internet, understanding the context. If we're working with someone who has very limited regulatory experience, let's say, kind of going to the internet, understanding the context, also like going through these kind of tens to hundreds of like documents related to their device, like that in itself is a kind of very like time-consuming task. So I think the key idea that we kind of want to help with is first of all, if you try and generate an output, it will direct you to the key documents for that particular section that you need to rely on and look at. And it kind of circumvents just this kind of super manual process of look at a document, searching the internet, what this question is actually asking for, trying to understand all of this different context and bring it together. We have this information readily available, so you can kind of very like easily just go through each question and just speed up the process. Like we do think you could kind of half the time that it takes to produce these documents, this like application with our kind of platform.
So basically, you're concentrating on the saving of time. Are
Yeah, and
you also concentrating on increased accuracy or any aspects of the increased quality of the submission or
Yeah, I mean, I think we can take a step back here and be like, okay, well, really the product has a couple of key components. There's the fact that this is like a web app and like hosted, and people like you have a login and it's all saved online, and you can collaborate. Everyone else, someone else can like log into the account. You can collaborate on the same thing. These are like excluding any of the AI features. These are just like things that you wouldn't get with an eStore that you would be getting by using this platform. Just a bit more of a modern like feel interface and a better way to store things instead of having like a really long Adobe Pro document open that you have to like manually add all the attachments to and stuff. Being able to see all that information at once, that's just like a baseline thing that we're providing. And then in terms of on top of that, with the AI, there's the AI to generate, which we think saves time. It stops people from having to copy paste. There's the AI even just from telling you like what documents you should be looking at. It's almost like it's just giving some bit of help. That's maybe not that would be more useful if you were newer to writing these kind of documents, and you would have like a bit more of a heads up um, of just like for this document, for this part of the document, the FDA is recommending that the submission should look like this, and something you wouldn't necessarily know because I think it's just a really intimidating space to enter. So I think that like, that is some value provided there. But then the layer on top of that, and like here's where we're trying to push is, we want AI to be able to generate these and then validate them as much as possible and check for extra holes that maybe like the human could do, or maybe they don't know how to do, but if they that in theory could do, but don't have the time to. We think it can be a very time-consuming process, and we want to try and give like extra levels of reassurance. But these are all like there's like levels to this, and this is obviously a work in progress product, but that's like where we're trying to add value at each level.
I have a
okay, thank you.
question.
Oh,
Oh,
well, I'm sorry. I have a second
yeah,
part to this.
sure.
I'll be quick.
So,
So that communication with the potential user is critical. Now, I think the points initially made about the fact that you need to understand what the competitive landscape is a really good one. But there's a competitive landscape to everything.
Mhm.
So understanding basically what's out there, and if another program does this the same or better or whatever, you have to know that because otherwise, but I, to me, that's a part of it, but it's not the end all be all because everyone has their own aspect that they're concentrating on. You could have two of these tools and they're almost the same. It will be your responsibility to understand what your tool, the advantage that your tool has. The fact that they're out there for me is not a big deal. There are going to be a lot of these of everything, every tool. They're going to be multiples, and you're going to have to compete with that. So if you don't right now know that, I do think it's important for you to eventually know that. But I'm not, I mean, that's the life that we're living now. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Maria.
Hi, Maria. Haven't seen you in a while.
Hi.
Okay, so I have kind of an on the ground question. So this great. Looks like you pull a lot of information put together. What does it look like in the eSTAR? Because we submit the eSTAR file,
Mhm.
not it's not submitted here. So what does it look like in the eSTAR? And how do you deal with the fact that every time you answer a question, something else pops up in the eSTAR, and sometimes nobody even knows, has never seen it before because devices are very different. So how do you deal with the hidden pieces of eSTAR?
Yeah, so in terms of the hidden stuff, it's probably easier if I create a project. That's all, it has the exact same functionality as the eStar. So if we create a fresh project, um, and we look at, let's say, administrative information, currently it shows nothing. If I then fill in the US FDA, like English, that should then pop up with some of these questions. So that functionality is the exact same as the eStar. In terms of exporting to the eStar, every single text answer multi-select option is automatically populated in the eStar. You can send through a kind of video of that, like a kind of proof of that after, if that helps. But yeah, all of those are then filled in. And then any kind of attachments that you need to attach to the eStar, which we've generated for you, you'll get a folder of them, and then you can manually go through and kind of add each of those attachments. But we validated that all of the kind of import and export works as it should.
Okay, so the see if I heard you right. So once the auto these I guess the generated aspects of that go into the eStar, but then if I'm using this, I have to go back in and manually attach the documents in those categories. Did I hear that right?
Ye-
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is a little bit of a side point. This is a just like where we're at in the development right now. In terms of like what it can do, like literally right now, it can like every single field that's in the normal eStar and every possibility like can be accessed in this platform. And then when you export it, it'll all fill in. I'm not sure if you've noticed in the eStar, like when you're trying to move it between the versions and you click the import button, you know how it can't import attachments right now. That's like an eStar limitation. We haven't worked around that yet. We're trying to work around that. Like it's obviously we want it in the
Okay.
future to be a single button. It's just like as a teething problem basically. So for the time being, what that looks like is you imports and then you have to attach. It's something we're looking to make better. We know that that's not the most economic way to do things.
Because I mean, I think there is ultimately we want it to be a case of you don't actually need to use Adobe Pro at all. You could just get rid of your subscription and you have the
Okay.
confidence to click, ready to go.
So just from a time saving standpoint, that's actually physically putting those in the eStar.
I don't think the FDA is ever going to let us do that awful, god awful in my form. I mean, that form is awful. And every time they update it, it takes longer and longer for the little stupid clock and wheel to drop down another lovely Dropbox or radio button that we have to. For anybody who's done that new 6.2 form that they just came out with, it's lovely that we now have to do with the QMSR. Have you got all those new lovely SOPs we get to drop in there now? in my opinion. There we go. I'm done.
So there were a number of
There's
questions
no way
about,
the FDA is going to let you integrate anybody's AI form, whoever's landscape is out there. There's no way anybody's going to be able to break whatever code they have,
Yeah.
software or whatever else the FDA is going to break in for you to integrate anybody whose professional landscape's out there.
Question: Have you already proved or checked how much time it's actually saving? I mean, for a new startup, it can be a really great starting point. But the question is how you take it to the next level.
Yeah, so we launched 2 weeks ago, and we primarily focused on consultants to begin with, who are kind of using it. We're kind of in the next kind of week or so, like wanting to kind of get feedback and get those numbers. But we don't have exact kind of stats of it saves 40% or 50%. And yeah, we assume that the people with less knowledge, it should save more time. The more experience you have, and if you're creating kind of 5, 10 Ks on a day to day, less time, but obviously, you create more of them. So
My 2 cents here is just if you can be in the situation that you can say it saves this amount of time that equal this amount of money.
yeah,
And this will really help you.
yeah, 100%. And I think also that will help with the kind of pricing element. At the moment, as we said, we're charging a nominal
So
sum.
so let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys have like an advisory group that it's basically supporting you as a company, meaning a technical advisor, somebody who worked with as a EU regulator or as an FDA, regulator, somebody who knows about marketing and business strategy, or are you just doing this on your own, or are you actually backed up by a group of, let's say, senior people who, like somebody said before, been there, done that, and could help you to sort of bring the company to the next level?
Yeah, so in terms of from a regulatory side, we've got kind of a number of strong informal relations who we're kind of leveraging and building very closely with. I guess in terms of everything else, someone mentioned it before in terms of investment. We're currently speaking to a kind of investor who are in America, and we've got the final call in a week's time. If that goes well, then we'll get funding and basically go to the US in June and basically go full time on this. And that will then provide a huge amount of support in terms of actually kind of building a business and everything that comes with that. And obviously, the actual investment will allow us to hire external people and things like that.
I think your answer was no, exactly. But which is fine. But my suggestion to you is that sort of seek that type of support. I mean, it's like it's going to be the oxygen that you're going to need when you need to climb a step. That's it.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. Should we answer some of the questions in the chat? I'm aware there are quite a few.
yeah.
I've got just a couple of things to say. So first, congratulations. This is great. As someone who's worked in the last 20 years or so in startups mainly and had my own, it's a difficult space, but it's very rewarding. So good for you. I do want to just mention really though is that medical's device is very risk adverse, and normal stuff like agile methods where we'll do things sort of on the go and solve problems as they come up, generally just not going to get through. If you look at any medical device risk management, it is super, super thorough. Like, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of lines of these are all the potential things that can go wrong. And at one point, there was a statement of it's 100% secure. I would never use that word anywhere with anything to do with the connected to the internet. You're not 100% secure. You're going to want to show, penetration testing and all of that stuff to show that your data is secure to a specific level. So just be warned. I think what you've heard here is a lot of people who work in this very risk adverse environment and don't and want you to do well, but there is a lot of things that isn't like a website or anything like that where, you know what, if it goes down, don't worry, we'll in 2 weeks we'll have a new version up or something. It's not the same thing at all. And I think that's sort of what I would get out of this if I was you guys. So good luck.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for their constructive advice. I want to give Jose a minute to show what's been going on with MLVX, but before we do that, I'd like to give James and Seth and Anish a moment to let us know how we can help, and how we can connect. Feel free to put your email addresses in there, or I can send a follow-up to anybody who would like it. Anybody who would like to speak with them privately, please put, a message to me and I'll make sure that they get it from the chat. And yeah, I think you guys are doing something really neat here. And it's certainly a challenging road and many of us have been down it. Going to market is not easy, and there are many technical challenges that have to be surmounted. Thanks everyone who contributed. Guys, any closing remarks?
I guess just we really appreciate your time today. We are aware we don't have the expertise in this space. And so yeah, anyone who's kind of interested in getting in touch, we chucked our landing page in there.
Yeah, and we have a wait list on there, so feel free to, if you're interested, to drop us an email and connect with us.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I think it's been really great, really constructive, and it's the amount of reply and enthusiasm has been really great. I think if you're interested in trying out the tool or working with us, telling us anything, please send us a message, and yeah, we're really receptive for anything that you can tell us.
Yeah, and anyone who has put their email in will follow up immediately after this call. So thank you, and thank you, Sean, for hosting.
Yeah,
Thank
much
you.
appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Now I want to give Jose a minute for MLVX and show you what he's been doing because it's crazy.
All right. Hi, everybody. If you haven't been here the last 2 weeks, as you know, Sean and I and our team launched this MLVX platform, which allows you to see who the experts are in the field. If you don't have an expert profile, let us know or go on and register, and then you should be able to create one. So you can see awesome people like Sean and myself and Michelle and Marina and all these people. And now you get to see some of their posts on LinkedIn. And if you have an account here, you can essentially share your posts here so that people can kind of not just see whatever LinkedIn wants to serve you, but see really what the experts in the field are doing. And then there's an AI chat system, and kind of a cool feature that we added this week. Just wanted to show you guys is, well, here, I'll just show you. Let's see. So I'm going to ask, what are the main EKG FDA codes? So this is an AI chat, but what's cool about it is that it pulls information from content from the experts, right? So all of the experts that I showed you, if they put in their blog posts, their webinar transcripts, their videos that they've put together, it'll pull information from them. And the latest feature that we added this week is we're linking it to the FDA database. So now you can ask it things like, hey, what are the main EKG FDA codes? And it'll tell you they're DPS, MWJ, MLO, QDA, etc. And if you then said, okay, I'm developing an EKG device that connects to the cloud. What cybersecurity documents do I need to prepare? Then, if everything works right, it'll start pulling information not only from guidance documents, but also from, like, let's say, blog posts that experts have uploaded. Like, I write a lot about cybersecurity, so you would see that there. So it's kind of cool. Like, not only is it pulling from the guidance documents from FDA, from expert content, but then now it's also linked to the FDA database. So you get that benefit as well, kind of bringing it all together. We're still building this out. If you guys have features that you think, hey, this would be really helpful, like our goal is for you to do a lot of your regulatory kind of AI chat stuff just in here. And it gives you an opportunity to see, still typing away because it's kind of a very comprehensive response. So yeah, if you have features that you think would be helpful for you, then just let us know in the app itself. So look here, it even tells you an expert. And of course it's me because I write a lot about cybersecurity. But if it was about another topic, it would be some of the other experts. We have over 130 experts now on here. And then the cool thing for the experts is that now, I see, hey, look at this guy. What does he write about? What does he do? And then you can see, I've got more than 25 content pieces on here. So as an expert, it's to your benefit to load content here so that as users come in here and, research topics, you're the person that gets linked to those topics. So that's
Amazing.
all. Yeah, any questions?
That's amazing, Jose. Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Have fun with it. Yeah, in the app, there is a thing that says set feedback. You can send, general feedback, bugs, feature requests. We're looking at this constantly. Most of the features that we're building is because somebody sent us a feature request on here, or Carrie broke something. If Carrie breaks something, that's a feature. And then
Must happen a lot.
or if somebody asks, yeah. And then, my final word, just to Seth, James, is it Anish? Really just to encourage you guys. I think those of us who've built startups or have been in the space, like I think this is great for you. Like you're getting it from like critics who you want to be your customers. And so just take all their information and take all their criticism and don't give up and keep building. And I think eSTAR forms are terrible and they suck, just like Carrie said earlier. So it is a pain point. And it's just a matter of getting the solution right, and then the story and the security and the, like everyone else has said, like it is a very risk-averse space. So just learning how to address all those questions, you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, really appreciate
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
thank
you.
All right.
Someone asked, does your data corpus include 403s and warning letters, Jose? Not yet, right?
It does not. It does not at the moment. If we think that's helpful to incorporate, then we can start pulling those in as well. And by the way, when you're chatting, if you chat and you find that it's like, hey, this really should have told me about this reference, you can ask it like, hey, do you have this reference in your database? And if it tells you no, you can drop in a URL or a PDF, and then it'll send it to us for review. And if it's relevant, we'll accept it, and then it'll get ingested into the database. So, the next time you ask a question or anybody asks a question. So that is public, and it does warn you, says, hey, this is going into the public database. Your actual chats don't get pulled into the database, but if you wanted to pull something into the database, you can do it right from the chat.
And it talks to you and argues with you, and it's kind of fun.
Mostly with Carrie.
Is that the Carrie feature?
That's the Carrie
feature. Jose and Carrie feature.
You can put it in Carrie mode, and then it yells at you.
Yeah, right. I just put that. What did Carrie break now? That must be a regular hashtag.
Just have me break it. I'll break it for you. I'm your worst nightmare when it comes to software. It's fun.
Good stuff.
Man, but Jose, this is huge, brother. Fantastic.
Yeah, glad you guys like.
I'm gonna
Play around with it. Give us your feedback. Spread the word. We do have so by the way, also, if you want to have on it and you want a promo code, we're doing promo codes for 3 months. Because there's a free version. You get a few questions you can ask. There's a paid version. There's kind of like a high level paid version. And then there's an expert type of version. Like not versions, but like accounts or profiles. They have different costs. But if you just let us know and you're willing to spread the word, we'll give you a 3-month promo code. So you'll get it for free for 3 months.
Count me in on that.
How do we let you know? Just curious.
Just shoot us a message.
Okay.
Either
Like LinkedIn or something, or
LinkedIn, right on here on the
Put it
web
right
chat,
here in the chat.
pretty much
okay.
anywhere.
I'll pick it up. I'll send anybody their promo code. If you're on this call, you don't have a profile, say you want a profile. If you want a promo code so that you can upgrade, put promo code. I'll upgrade you. So once you're upgraded, you can start uploading content to your profile. You can upload PDFs, you can upload slides, you can upload transcripts, documents, you can link to blog articles that you've published. So, Maria, your articles, link to them. They'll be uploaded.
Actually, I was going to write a chat saying that I needed some help with it. I just visited it, and I think, and I noticed that I hadn't really done anything, so I definitely need some help. But
I'm the customer success team. You're looking at it. So, well, it's 12:01 Eastern Time, and I want to thank everybody for your time and attention today. I'd especially like to thank our speakers, James, Seth, and Anish, for braving the Shark Tank and coming out here and sharing with them. I'd like to thank everybody for their very, very helpful suggestions um, and advice to these young entrepreneurs. Um, I'm excited to see what they do with this, and wish you best of luck with funding round.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Cheers,
Great.
Sean.
Thanks so much.
Thanks everyone else
Thank
for
you,
all the
everyone.
advice.